awesome. So I think that really bodes well for everybody for this webinar. Is that correct, Paul?
It was amazing, mate. Amazing, Stephen. Yeah, I am. I'm always amazing, and you're amazing too. And so,
Thank you very much.
you are. You look lovely today, Stephen. So yes, so thank you very much. I'm Paul Graham, and I work for a company called Changing Social. I've been doing IT for about 35 years. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, he doesn't look it, but I have. Whenever I do that, I always feel a bit like, is it Keith Fitt from Gogglebox? Because he always says I've been doing stuff for like 18 years, and he says Ben's at the end. It's very, very good. In today's session, we're going to go through getting the most out of Microsoft Office 365. I've been doing Microsoft 365 now for since about 2009. We used to be freely released to education. At the time, I was an IT manager in a school. And yeah, I was quite an early adopter, but I have worked for top FTSE 100 organisations, including Burberry in the past as well. I was their global trainer. So I find that this kind of session works best if people can just ask questions. You know, I don't mind being stopped. In fact, I totally encourage it. If anybody has anything to say or to ask, or even anything that's kind of, off topic with what I'm showing, if something pops into your head, then, just ask me, because I think this is so much better if it works as a conversation. So if we can just think of this as, less like training, which is often quite boring, and more of a kind of a nice chat around Microsoft 365, I think that'll be fantastic. Okay, jolly good. Audrius, if you can just keep an eye on the time and things like this, what I was going to suggest was that we have a break at about 11:05, something like that, because I just know 2 hours is quite a long time for me to talk and for you to listen. So if we stop at about 11:05, that'll be great. Okay, jolly good. Let's start. I'm going to share my screen now. It's the first time I've used Zoom, so it's quite exciting. Now, hopefully you can see my screen. Audrius, can you just confirm, can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes, Paul. Yep, all good. Good to see. Yep.
Mega. I've also got my script with me today as well, so that I won't miss anything off, hopefully. So here we go. So if you hear some paper rattling, it's this. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the very beginning. I was always told that, start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. So we're going to start here. I've just gone to Bing. I've typed in office.com. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign into Microsoft Office 365. Now, hopefully, many of you...
Sorry.
Yes.
Can you expand or make it full screen somehow?
Oh, of course, yeah. My whole screen, yeah. 1 second. Boom, 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 boom. It's a combination key, is it? Is it F12 or something like that? F11?
Oh no, I think it's... No, it was just me. Sorry, it was just me. Yeah, you're all good.
Oh.
Excuse me.
No, jolly good. No, honestly, it's good. Thank you. Okay, so here we are. So, I've gone to office.com. I'm now going to sign in. Hopefully, many of you will have Microsoft Office 365 at the moment, so you'll be able to do many of the things that I'm doing. For those who haven't got it, just watch. I think you're gonna quite enjoy this. So I'm going to say sign in, and I've got my password saved, which I know maybe isn't such a good thing to do. And then I'm going to say, yeah, stay signed in for this session. Now, this is our test tenant at Changing Social. So this is our example tenant that we use for demonstrations and things like this. But Office 365, it's always the same. It just, always has the same kind of look and feel about it. This is a cloud-based service. This is running on other people's computers, and so the experience is always pretty much the same. Even if you're on an educational platform, I did see somebody put a comment on before. I think we have a teacher or some teachers with us today, and so yeah, the education version works pretty much in the same way, although it does have some fantastic educational enhancements. Okay, so this is the screen we see when we first log in. I'm just going to minimize that so you can see my screen a little bit better. And on here we can see I have a good morning prompt. I can install Office. I have links to all the applications and programs within Microsoft Office 365. I have documents as well on here as well, so I can see documents which are recommended for me. I can see all the recent documents that I've been working on, things I've created, or other things that other people might have actually updated recently as well. I can see their status, I can share them, I can pin them. I've also got more options here from the three little dots, which is the Microsoft ellipse. So it's always really, really handy to know that. If you ever want to have or find out, more options on things within Microsoft products, then it's always the three little dots. I can also see documents which have been pinned. So if I pin that Excel example there and then go to pinned here on the pin tab, then I can see we have that Excel example pinned there. I can also say, look at the documents which are shared with me, and I can do a discovery of documents. So it's a really handy place to come. I can see my OneDrive recent folders. I can see all documents which are being used in Microsoft 365, whether they're on SharePoint or Microsoft Teams or in my OneDrive or on other people's OneDrives that they've shared with me. So this is a great place to come and just see those items and just get a real global awareness of what's going on within my Microsoft 365. Okie dokie, jolly good. Okay, so the first thing I want to kind of show you in the session about getting the best out of it is the template feature that are contained within the standard applications of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. They are super handy and incredibly useful. So firstly, we're just going to go into Word like so. And on here, I can see I can create a new Word document. Again, I've got the recommended documents coming up here, and I can see my recent, my pinned, my shared documents, and I can do a discovery. I can also upload and open a document straight away from my computer. So if I've got any Word documents on my computer at the moment, I can upload them from here and bring them straight into my OneDrive within Microsoft 365. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on here and say more templates. And on here I have a bunch of really good templates which are available to us within Word. So we've got a resume cover letter, we've got a business letter, we've got a simple student report, and they're just as easy to to use as just to click on them. So we have a family chart chart here. If I give that a click, and so then we go into this and it'll just build it for us. It's really, really fast. Everything I'm going to demonstrate to you today will be using the online versions of Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. I'm not going to look at the the desktop features of this. I just really want you to kind of get familiar with, well, or actually to see how we can work within the cloud and just how fantastic and easy it is. So on here, I can come in. I can rename this document. I can call this, family tasks, like so. And then I can save it like that. And you can see immediately it's saved. So I'm never going to lose any work doing it this way. If I'm working in the browser, then everything's saved automatically. It's, this is getting saved to my OneDrive. It means I can share it with people within my organization. It's just a fantastic way to work. We're going to look at that in a little bit later on as well. Okay. So on here as well, you can see, even though it's perhaps not, well, isn't, even though it's not as fully featured as the desktop applications for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, it still has many great features. And just so you're aware, if you're ever out and about and you have access to a web browser, then you can sign in as long as your organizational policy allows it. You can sign in using using other people's computers or from an internet cafe. When we all get back to normal, you'll be able to go to internet cafes, and you'll be able to do all this same kind of stuff as I'm doing here. Okay. We've also got the dictate function as well. So it's an absolutely fantastic function. You can type, as you talk. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on when we look at collaboration. So yeah, so I just want to kind of show you this bit first. So this is a Word template. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Microsoft 365. I'm going to click on the app launcher here, which is in the top left-hand corner, which is a collection of 9 little dots. And then I'm going to click back into Office 365 like so. Okay, now the next template I want to show you is an Excel template, which is really handy. So I'm going to click into the Excel web app, and I'm going to click on more templates. And then from here, I'm going to go to this take a tour of Excel template. Now, this is absolutely fantastic. I don't know whether many of you have seen this, but this shows all the latest features and some original features of Excel. Some real good stuff in here. So, for example, it's got some keyboard tricks in here for doing an auto sum. So when they click into the cell, you can do an alt and equals like so. Look, and look at that, boom. it'll calculate the amount of bread, donuts, and biscuits, which is 190. You can just do that again as well on here, like so. See, it's ever so useful. 50 plus 20 plus 60 is 130 mega. Now, I don't know whether anybody's actually used flash fill in the past. Sounds like somebody who might be a car dealer, doesn't it? But it's actually a feature in Excel. And so what we can do is, if I click on Nancy here and highlight all that area, then what I can do is I can go into data on here on the toolbar, click data, give data a fill. Give data a click, and then I can click on flash fill, and you see what it does. It's taking all the names out of the names / points column. I can do the same in the points area as well. I can go down to here, boom, like this, and I can say flash fill. You know, really, really good. So this is a great thing to do, you know, with people to, you know, to get them a bit more familiar with Excel. It's a really, really good template. We have one here for filtering as well. I'm sure most of you know how to filter, but if you know, if you don't, there's got some really good instructions over there. It's very, very excellent. Using tables for lists and data as well. You know, so what you can do is you can use sort and filter on here, creating charts quickly. Which is absolutely awesome. So what you can do on here is, you know, select any cell within here, for example, cell 88, and then go on the Insert tab, and then go on to column, and then just do a 2D chart, and you can just do it as quickly as that. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. Really, really good template. Okay, so yes, if you get time, you know, have a look at that template. It is really fantastic. Okay, next cool feature I'm going to show you is a one for PowerPoint. Okay, so let's have a look at PowerPoint online, like so. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to say, let's have a, I'll just show you some of the themes. We're not going to use the themes, but there's many, many themes included with PowerPoint online, which are pretty good. Okay, didn't mean to do that. I'll just go back. Although that is quite a nice theme. I'm just going to go back over here. Let's go to PowerPoint again. And I'm going to say a blank presentation. Okay. So in this blank presentation here, what you can see immediately is we have this designer tab open up on the right hand side. And this designer tab is using all this clever artistic knowledge to kind of enable you to make your PowerPoint presentations, you know, just that little bit more special. So on here, what I can do is, if I said, click to add, and then let's see if dictate works on here. So I'm just going to say dictate. I say PowerPoint presentation 1. Whoop, good stuff. Subtitle. Introduction to Microsoft 365. Something like that. I'll turn off dictate now. It's a lot of fun, dictate. Please have a play with that. That's great. And so what we can, you know, from here, what I can do is I can say insert, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a picture like this, and I'm going to say from stock images. This is quite a new feature on 365. If I click on stock images, I'll get all these lovely stock images on there. How good's that? It's really, really good, Paul. And so if I come into here, let's have an image of something. Audrius, are you there with me, mate?
Hi, Paul. Yes, I am.
Any suggestion on an image that we should put in here? Anything that springs to mind? Do you like cats?
I like the purple drops, like kind of water purple drops that you can see in the middle.
Okay, well, actually, let's go and see if we can find some other ones. See if it'll actually do it for purple drops. Oh, it doesn't. That's a nightmare. It doesn't do it. Okay, we'll go back then. We'll cheat and we'll just select this. So there we go. I'm going to go click on there and I'm going to say insert, and then we've got that. Look at that. Boom. Now look at the right hand side. Isn't that cool? And what we can do is, you see, we can now select a presentation style that we quite like. How good's that? It's amazing, isn't it? And then what you can do is it's really good, isn't it? And then we can do it again. We can say insert, we can say pictures, we can say stock images. Actually, let's have some P's. It's a bit of a mixture, isn't it? I think there's something that says, you know, never mix purple and green, but hey, it's not going to stop us. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to select this one here. Boom. So yeah, you know, it's a really good way of making really snazzy PowerPoint slides in a, you know, in a really good way, in a really quick way. Good stuff. Okay. Thanks, Audrius. Good.
Paul, just to interrupt
Yes.
you. Laura is
Yes,
asking,
anything.
where was the dictate button again?
It's on. Okay, great question. I love questions. So it's on Word, and it's on OneNote, and it's on PowerPoint as well. So it's just here. It always looks the same. It's this little button here for dictate. It's absolutely fantastic. And
Okay.
you just give it a click. And do you hear that? I don't know whether you can hear my audio, but it kind of goes ping, and then when you turn it off, it goes duh, like that to indicate that it's off. It's really good.
No, I wasn't really hearing that, but that's fine. No, that's fine. And we've got one more question from Laura, if that's okay.
Yeah, ask anything at all. Yeah, of course.
She pays for 365 for family, she thinks, and she's wondering how she can let her kids use 365 via iPads because the daughter can't get Teams on her iPad. So any ideas?
Yeah, now, okay, I'll have to have a look into that, which I will. When we get to the break, I'll do some Googling around that. I don't know whether the family version of 365 incorporates Teams. However, I will have a look. But there's a really good application called Office.com, which is available for Apple devices and Android devices, and within that it has some of the features that we're looking at today in terms of using Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all this really good stuff. So please have a look at that. But I will find Laura. I will find out, and I'll have a look at half time and see if I can find some information. Okay.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So yeah, so just please ask questions. I love questions. So yeah, so that dictate button, I'll show you again when we come to the to doing the collaboration piece a little bit later on. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to Office 365, and what I want to show you now is I want to show you the 5 different ways that we can share content within Microsoft 365. It's got the same end result. It uses the same dialog box, but I want to show you the different ways of doing it. So the first way of doing a share within Office 365 or Microsoft 365 is to come down here onto your recent documents within Office.com and clicking on this universal symbol for share, which is like a box with an arrow jumping out of it. I don't know whether that is the universal symbol, but it is the share notification within Microsoft 365. And what we're going to do is I'm going to click on this share button. This is that family chores thing that we looked at earlier on, that template. And when I do that, I see this dialog box saying send link. Now we're going to look at this dialog box in a bit more detail in a bit, but I just want to show you the other ways that we can do this. So the next way of doing it is if I was coming into family tasks like this, boom, into that document. Look, there's that dictate button again there. How good? Wonderful. And then on here, what I can do is I can click on share, and look, I get the same dialog box up again, like so. Good stuff. I can also, from my OneDrive, if I click onto OneDrive on here, here we are. There's my OneDrive. There's not a lot in here. Don't judge me on that. It's just because this is the test tenant. My real OneDrive, of course, it's got a lot more documents in. And so within here again, I can come onto family tasks and I can click on share this item like so. Look, I'll get the same dialog box up again. Pretty cool. And the next way of doing it, number 4, is if I'm in SharePoint. So I'm just going to go into SharePoint now, and I created a SharePoint site today just for the purposes of this, Paul Demo SharePoint site, because I've got no imagination, and I'm going to click into that, and this is a SharePoint site again. If anybody's familiar with SharePoint document libraries, you probably think, oh, well, that looks a lot like OneDrive. Well, that's because it is OneDrive is just a SharePoint document library. So again, in here, I can come into these documents and I can click on the shared icon. And then look, it just gives me the same dialog box up again. And then finally, the last way of doing it. So I'm on a Windows 10 computer. If this works the same way if you're on a Windows 8 computer, I think it does on Windows 7 as well, though Windows 7 is getting a bit old now. You can also do this if you've got a Mac and you from the Finder. So what I'm about to do now, you can do it on different applications. I don't look very happy in that picture. I should really take it out. So on here, I'm coming onto my computer and I'm clicking on File Explorer. And then when I'm in here, I've got my OneDrive Contorso, which is my OneDrive that I've just been showing you. So if I come into here, look, I can see those documents that I had in my OneDrive a bit earlier. I can see my family tasks. And within here, what I can do is I can right click and I can say share, like so. Can I say share? Maybe it's not synced actually. Anyway, normally you can do this. You can come onto here, you right click and then you say share, and then that dialog box will pop up again. I do apologize. I just set this up this morning, so for whatever reason it's not bringing those notifications through. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on that and see if we can actually see it from my Word. It's probably going to tell me I'm logged into somebody else. So yeah, if we go onto here and say share, there we go. There's the dialog box again. Let's see if it does it for us. It might just tell us to sign in. Yeah, okay. You'll just have to take my word for that, but it does do it. I totally promise. Okie dokie. Jolly good.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Audrius.
You're right.
I'm amazing.
So one more
Yes.
question, if you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
She says that she's never used SharePoint before, and she would like you to explain it more thoroughly or in more basic terms, if you could.
Yeah, but of course. So everything I'm showing you now, as long as you've got a SharePoint license, which is an E, I think an E1 or higher, and then there's education plans as well. So actually, because I'm not explaining that very well, you know. I do feel that. Bear with me. I'm just gonna take my computer out of full screen. I'm gonna close some tabs as well, because I've got so many tabs open now. And then I will explain. So, okay. So on here, if I go Microsoft 365 plans UK, we should get some good indication of what we get here. Compare all Microsoft Office plans. And so there is the family one, look, which is interesting. So as part of this, you can see, you know, these are the individual plans. Now it looks like on there that we probably don't get actually SharePoint included. So that's just we'll come back onto that. Let's just have a look. So boom, 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 boom. Here we are. Pro Plus is the one that I'm familiar with. Yeah. So on here, these are the apps that we get included. We get Teams and we get SharePoint and Yammer. Now, if you have these services included in your plan, whenever you come onto the app launcher within 365 and give that a click, you should see this icon here for SharePoint. And what SharePoint is it's an intranet as well as a data store, as well as a document library. And it is absolutely fantastic, and it can be used for so many different things. I know that in the past, you know, many organizations paid quite a lot of money to have like a portal or an intranet where you would put policy documents into it, or you would have, you know, events and countdown timers, you know, something that's really, really graphical that brings a lot of content together. But what's happened recently within Microsoft 365 is they've put a lot of investment into making SharePoint much easier to use. So if I click into here onto SharePoint, I can create a site just as a demo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a communication site on here. Okay. I will provide, Audrey, I'll provide links to this stuff after the webinar's finished. So if people want more information, they can, get access to it. I'll include some video links as well to Microsoft, because this is super good stuff. Okay. So on this one, I'm going to call this, I'll call this company intranet demo. Okay, because I have no imagination. And then on here, I'm going to say finish. And what it's going to do, it's going to build a site for us. It only takes a few seconds. And what it does is it does this kind of thing. You know, it's really, really useful. And you can do news posts in here. You can do events. It pulls it into a calendar. You know, you can produce your present your documents on here as well. And there's a number of templates as well which are available for SharePoint. So if I go to something called OneBook, I think it's called, then there's a bunch of templates that you can use within your Microsoft 365 environment. Wow, what's it called? Boom, 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 boom. It's called, one second, SharePoint templates, Microsoft. I can hear somebody going ping every now and then. That's quite exciting. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I forgot what it was called. I'm sure it's called One something. OneBook. I'm sure it's called OneBook. It's very much hear me working out loud, folks, which is, I apologize if it's a bit boring. So in here, yeah.
If you know, if I distract you too much, then just let me know and we can get back to your presentation.
Oh, no, but honestly, it's really, really good. And what I'll do is I'll include the links. I'll do this at half time and I'll get back to you. But honestly, it's excellent. And there's loads of predefined templates for this. And so what you can do is you can just bring them in and it is awesome. Okay, it's very, very good. Yeah, ever so useful. Okie dokie. So, yeah, SharePoint, brilliant thing. If anybody's got any questions about that, you can always ping me after as well, because it is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go to my OneDrive because I want to show you how we would share out from a OneDrive or from a SharePoint or from any of those 5 ways that I showed you earlier. So if we come into here and I click on Family Tasks again, what I can do is I can say Share, and when I do that, I get a bunch of options. So I can say anyone with this link can edit. Probably not the most, advisable thing to do whenever we're sharing a document. We really want to kind of tie it down to certain individuals if we're going to share and collaborate with people. So what I want to do is I want to kind of change that a little bit. I'm going to click on anyone with the link. And then what I do is I get a bunch of other options. So now on here, I can say, well, just people in Contorso with the link, or I can say people with existing access can edit this document or view this document, or I can say specific people. So that could be people outside of my organization. It could be people with an Outlook account or with a Gmail address. The only proviso on that, the only restrictions on that is if somebody doesn't have an affiliated account. So if they're not using Microsoft 365 already, then what they've got to do is they've got to create a Microsoft account in the same name as that account. Okay, hopefully that will make sense. Again, though, I can provide a link to that, if you want more information. And then on here, I can allow editing. I can set an expiration date on the document. How cool is that? It's great. It's really great, Paul. I can also set a password as well, and I can also block the download. So what I'm going to say in this, I'm going to say specific people, okay, and then I'm going to say apply, and then in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say specific people can edit this, and then I'm going to put in Megan, who's always in the Contorso test environment. I'm sure she's a real person somewhere, but she doesn't work at Changing Social. And I can give Megan a click, and then I can send Megan that link like that, boom, and she will now get an edit link to that document. Isn't that fab? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Just going to have a quick check of my script, see what we do next. Okay, so actually I just want to show you how you would do that to people outside of an organization as well, if your policies allow. So if I click on here and say send link, I can say specific people. I'm going to say apply, and then here I'm going to type in, let's have a think. I'm going to type in my Changing Social email address. So I'm going to go paul.graham@changingsocial.com, like so. And I'm going to say like this, send, and what it should say is, it says, this can't present because at least one recipient isn't valid. So this is telling me that for my organization in this test environment, this is blocked, so I can't send it out. But on yours, you might well be able to do that. Okie dokie, very good. Okay, so now we're going to look at co-authoring. We're going to move on to a next section. If anybody's got any questions on what we've just done there, please say. If not, we will move on. Okie dokie. Andreas, I'm going to move on. Okay, section 2. Okay, so now we're going to look at document collaboration. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you what this looks like across the different applications of Microsoft 365. So if I come into here and I click on, let's go into Excel, because we haven't had a look at Excel too much so far, and I'm going to say new blank document. Then what I can do in Excel is I can be working away. You know, we can do a kind of a bit of a fill here. Do 1, 2. Boom, drag this down like so. Okay, good stuff. And then, in here, I can say, right, what I want to do is I want to share this with somebody. And so if I click into here and say share, then let's just do this with Megan, somebody like that, Megan Bowen, like so. And I'm going to say send that link. Now when Megan gets that link, what she'll be able to do, she'll be able to come into this document, and if she was in here, what we would see is we would see Megan listed across the top as another person within the document working aware. We would see her cursor position within this document and where she was and what changes was being made. It would be, it would be a truly inclusive experience. And one that it can be used in a kind of a true collaborative way. The only thing to be aware is if you are using Excel for this, you can't be both in the same cell at the same time. So it's really important, just to kind of remember those kind of things. But it is true collaborative, and it's a true co-authoring experience. Okay, good. So what I want to kind of show you with this is, I want to show you how the version history would work within a document. So if I'm in here and I'm just going to make another change. I'm going to say insert, and we're going to say insert a picture. We will do a choose file. We'll just go and get one from my computer. We'll just get that nice bronze image there and pop that in like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into documents like this, and now I can see I've got this book 1 which I just created moments ago, and I'm just going to rename that. So I'm going to click on the 3 little dots because it gives me the options to do such things, and I'm going to say rename, and then here I'll just call this, I'll call this Excel example demo, and save it. Okay, and now what you'll notice when I'm on this document here, it says, oh, it was modified a few seconds ago by me, Paul Graham. File size is 70 kilobytes, and that it's shared. So we have some fantastic features within OneDrive to actually see, who it's shared with, and who's modified at last. And so what we can do is we can click onto this little I symbol here, like so. And when I do that, I can see a preview of the document. So, I can see my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can see it's had one view, which was me, and then I can see who has access to this document. So if I click on manage access, then I can see the links which are giving access. So it's got a link at the moment saying, anybody who's got this link, if I copy that, I can send that to somebody and then they will have it. Or I can say stop sharing. At the moment, although you can see what I've done is I've granted access to somebody else. If I come out of here, then I can see Megan has access to this document as well. I can also see a previous activity for the document, so I can see that it was renamed from book 1 to Excel example demo a few seconds ago, and then the file was edited too. Really good stuff. Okay. But the very, very best thing about working in OneDrive or working in SharePoint, because it is really the same thing, is something called version history. So if I come into here and I click on the 3 little dots and I click on version history, then we can see we have different versions of this document. So we have a version 1, which I created 4 minutes ago. Then we have a version 2, which you can see the file size jumped significantly to 70 kilobytes, and that's because I imported that bronze image and onto the Excel sheet, and then it saved it again when I renamed the document. So really useful as version history. It's like having a backup, but a backup totally within your command. It takes the emphasis and the need to to have the IT department to recover that file It's super useful. You know, I've seen this being used on, you know, on real high profile stuff. A company I was recently working with, they're using an iPad, and accidentally they kind of deleted a load of pages from a PDF document with a pen using the iPad, and then they saved over it. But because it had been saved onto OneDrive, this Word document, which had been turned into a PDF, they were able just to go back and recover the missing, you know, the missing pages, you know, very, very easily. I did get a phone call for that at about 11 o'clock at night, and you know, it was a great thing to be able to help somebody to resolve that. It was, you know, really, really easy, and you know, version history, it's fantastic. Okay, good stuff. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what that looks like when you're in Word as well as Excel. The Word way of doing it is a bit friendlier. It's a little bit nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come off here and I'm going to say new, and I'm just going to say Word document, and I'm going to call this a version history example when it does pop up. Like so. Here we go. Version history example. I always sing my titles when I'm ever doing a document. I advise that you do the same. And so in here, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to, let's do the dictate function again. And I'll do this. I'll just start it. I'll say something like, the rugged rascal ran around the rugged rocks. New line. Today is Wednesday, the 9th of June, 2020. Cool. And then I'm going to end the dictation, like so. And so what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to come into here and I'm going to say insert, and I'll do a picture again. Oh, it's doing this, which is a bit of a shame, but that's fine. Choose file, and I'm going to come in here. Let's use silver this time. Cool. Okay. Jolly good. Okay. And so from in here, let's actually let's give it a nice drop shadow background as well. Let's do one of these. Oh, come on. Yeah, that looks nice. Good stuff. Okay. So as you can see, every time I make a change, it is saying saved. And if I want to go in here and look at the version history from within Word, it's got this super good feature. I can drop this down and I can click on version history, and look what it does. It does this. It's telling me I've got two versions of the document. And if I click into this one, you see we have nothing, and then we've got a one which has just got the text on and the image, which is really, really good. I can also, what I can do is if I click onto here and say, right, I want to restore that version like this, or I could save it as a copy. And then what it does is it creates a version 3 of that document. So if I click into here and just show you that again, because I know I went a bit fast there, then what we have is we have 3 different versions of this now. We have this one just now, we have this one, and then we should have an empty document. Okay, good stuff. Do we like that? It's good, isn't it? Yeah, I've also got the option to say save as a copy. So if I went into here and said, I'm going to save this as a copy, I'm going to say this is the copy from version history. Okay, pretty useful. Do we like that? Is that good? Yes, Paul, it is. It's really good. Okay, jolly good. Okay, so before we go any further with this, actually, what I want to kind of demonstrate, Audrius, do we have any other questions, actually, before we kind of move on to a really good feature?
Yes, we do. We do have a few questions.
Yeah.
So the first one comes from Tony.
Yeah.
He said, is there a way of saving a document I've received in an email, for example, such as a purchase order, into a SharePoint folder? Currently, I'm saving it to my desktop and then uploading it to SharePoint later. So
yes.
Is there a way to do it instantly somehow?
There is. Now there's some really, really cool things for that. You can. So let's see if I can actually demonstrate that from here. Let's go into Google on here. That's a great question, actually. I love that question. There's a few ways of doing it as well. A bit, you know, Microsoft 365, it's a bit like a musical instrument. You know, there's so many different ways to get a tune out of it. So there's a few different ways to do what Tony would like to do. So yeah, thanks, Tony. If I click onto here and I go into Outlook and see if it'll do it for me. See if I can send myself an email. I haven't been in here, so hopefully there's nothing bad in these emails, Audrius. I know, high risk strategy this, isn't it, don't you think? So let's go into here, and now I'm going to say send to Paul Graham. Yep, cool. So I'm using the web Outlook here. So if Tony's got access to this is a good way of doing it. There's other ways of doing it as well. So if I say demo attachment, and I'm going to say attach, I'm going to say, yeah, go on, let's go and get one from my computer. Okay, so just as a pretend, we're going to say somebody sent me this gold image. Okay.
And is it the same process if you're using an app rather than a browser?
Yeah, it should be. I'll be surprised if it isn't. So yeah, I mean, you know, shout at me if it's not, but it should be exactly the same features I'm doing here. It should get the drop down to say, you know, save to OneDrive. Here is an image. God, I'm having a bad day today. Can't type. Okay, so and I'll put a smiley on it as well. It's always good to send yourself images with smileys. Okay, so I'm going to send that, and that should come into my inbox. Boom, like so. You see, it's got an attachment on there. Apologies there for clapping. And then on this drop down here, I should have more actions, and I should say, yeah, save to my OneDrive, like so. How cool is that? It's really good, isn't it? Really good, real good stuff. So that's one way of doing it. However, you know, if Tony wants to be a bit more adventurous, then what you can do is, I'm just going to show this very, very quickly, is you can come into something called Power Automate. Yeah. If I say open a new tab on here on Power Automate. Power Automate is like, and we could do a session on Power Automate if anybody's interested. It's really, really fun and very, very good. It's like that old board game Mousetrap. Did anybody play Mousetrap? Did you play Mousetrap, Audrius?
I know that one, yeah.
Okay. No, where you have the ball bearing, it goes down the stairs, and then like something else happens, a man jumps into the bath, and then the mousetrap comes down. Well, that's what this is like. So you have floors, and so on here, what you can say is, yeah, I want to make a floor that every time an email comes in with an attachment, I want it to save to my OneDrive. And look, there it is. Save Office 365 email attachments to OneDrive for Business. So you would just click on this. It's all pre-populated for you, and then what you can do is, actually it might not work on mine because this is the test tenant, as I said. Let's see if it will. Let's just give it a try. Go on. Oh look, green tick. I love green ticks. And then say create floor. I just want to show you what this looks like, Tony. It is fab. And then you see what it'll do is, oh come on, fix that connection. What it does is it's just like Mousetrap. So if I say fix connection on that, come on. It's only because I've not been into Power Automate on this account, that's all. I don't want to put you off. It's not always like this. It's normally like really, really good. So we're just going to come into here. Just bear with me. Give it a second. Bear with me. There's not really a bear with me though. Come on. Sign in. We'll give it 5 seconds, Audrius, and then we'll.
We can wait, and I've got a few more questions if you don't mind. But
oh, okay, cool. Yeah, go on, please. Yeah, yes. But it is really good. Tony, I will send you the link to this at the end. Audrius, can you just make a note of the question so I can at the end of it I can post and put links to them, please, if that's okay. Thank you.
We've got another one from Meryl. She says one of her colleagues uses a Mac, but she uses Word, not Pages. Do sharing links work across platforms?
Yes.
As Windows and Macs?
Yes, they do. So as long as your colleague is using Microsoft 365 and they're signing into the same tenant, or even if they're a guest on that tenant, if you send them those links and with their permissions in, they will work in just the same way. It's this stuff is like device independent. I really should try and get that across better than perhaps I have. This is not just a Windows thing. This works on Apple computers. It works on Linux computers. If anybody's got a feeling for the exotic, it works on Linux, and it works on mobile devices too. It's really, really good. Cool.
Okay, and last question for now from Meryl again.
Yeah.
She wants to know if you are going to cover Teams at all today, and she says, "I'm aware you can only use the free version of Teams with some subscriptions, but I have upgraded to access all of the Teams features, and I would like to know more about that. I have ended up with a free version of Teams using my Gmail account and full version with my business email account. Can I link the two?"
Yes, you can. Yeah, well, okay. Can you link them? You can in a way. So what you could do is you could invite guest access from one to the other. You can also open up. You can have two different Teams windows running at the same time if you're using a Chrome or if you're using Chrome or the Edge browser, because the new Edge browser is just based on Chrome and it's rather good if anybody's used it. I'm using the new Edge browser here. And so what you can do with that, I'll just quickly demonstrate this. If I go into Teams, to answer the question though from Merle, Audrius, I'm not covering Teams today. I hadn't planned to. I've got another session, one of these, another ones that you've kindly invited me to in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks today. So, we're going to cover off Teams for 2 hours in that session. It'll be fab. So yeah, if Merrill, if you'd like to join that, please do. Okay, but in terms of actually running multiple Teams sessions on your computer, it's really easy in the Edge browser. If I click on this little 3 little dots here, the options of Microsoft products, and I go to apps, then what I can do is I can say install this as an app, and then what you're seeing on here, I've got different tenants. So then I can open this as a test team app. Look at this, boom! How good's that? Look, now it's in a window all by itself, and I can pin that. Let me just show this. Pin to taskbar. Even if I close that now, boom! Look, then I can reopen it, and it'll open that as if it was a desktop application. Isn't that fab? It's really good.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Yeah.
And Meryl said that she will join in the session where you will be covering the Teams. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
From her,
Honestly, it'd be great. I look forward to seeing you there. But we've still got a whole hour left with this, so it's going to be fantastic. Okay.
So, speaking of it, you said that you wanted me to remind you that
I know.
about we would want.
I was just thinking, yeah, it is 2 minutes past. What I've got is I've got one more thing just to show you very, very quickly. It's going to take 5 minutes, and then I do promise we'll break, and then we'll do Microsoft Forms after that. But I'm just going to show you this really, really cool feature next. But yeah, thanks, Audrius, for reminding me, because I'm terrible for. And if I don't break in 5 minutes, Audrius, I must. Okay, so in here, what I'm going to do is I want to show you how we can share documents really easily without having to go to OneDrive. So if you've got a document you've been working on in your OneDrive, like this version history example I've got here, then what I can do is I can click into comments and I can say new comment, and then I can go at, yeah, and then if I put somebody's name in here, so I'll choose Danielle Phillips on here, and I can say, please review. For example, now this is saved in my OneDrive. It's going to be in your OneDrive for this to work, and I send that. Look what happens. I get this pop-up saying, do you want to grant access to Danielle Phillips? These recipients don't have access to this item because they don't. It's in my OneDrive at the moment. They will not be able to see or reply to your mentions unless you give them access. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share and notify Danielle like this, and then what it's done is it's sent her an email and it's shared that document with her, and I'm just going to prove that it's done that. Again, these are really good. These are top tips. They do work fantastically well. And so if I come down here, I've got my version history example. You can see it was modified only a few seconds ago. If I click on there now, and then click on the little I for the details pane, the information pane, then on here I can see, if I say manage access, I can see that I've granted Danielle Phillips edit access. It's given by the pen here, and if I drop that down, I can stop her having access, or I can just make her have view access. But it's a really easy thing to do. So just do that straight from the document using comments. Isn't that fab? It is. It's really good. Hopefully you're enjoying this. Okay, the next thing I just want to kind of show you as well is working on documents within OneDrive. So on this computer here, I've got my OneDrive Contorso connected because it's my demonstration. And in here, if I was to click into here and say new, I can create a new document, or I can drag something in here for my computer. And what this will do is it'll push that document and sync it with my Microsoft 365 OneDrive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into let's go and get a picture. God, I've got such a cluttered desktop screen. I won't take my picture because that's a bit egocentric, isn't it, to do that? So I won't do that, although I don't mind my picture. I'm going to get my picture and I'm going to come into Contorso, get a picture, and I'm going to say paste, okay. And you can see there, what it's doing is, you see it's got this little like washing machine cycle image on there, so it's saying it's syncing. It's pending, and so there we go. Look, now it's changed to a green tick, and what's happened is it's pushed that now to the OneDrive. So if I come into here and I just give that a little refresh, then we should see that gold image. Whoop, there we go. Look, there's gold, and what it's done is it's brought it into my OneDrive. Isn't that fantastic? It is. Okay, last thing to show you before we break is if you've got a Windows, now this will only work on Windows 10 computers. This is something called Storage Sense. So I just want to show you, it's really good for managing your OneDrive and your SharePoint document libraries. That's really, really handy for this. Now I will cover this as well in the team session in 2 weeks' time, because just to let you into a secret, Teams and SharePoint, they're very, very closely linked. Whenever you're saving any kind of document, whenever you're saving any kind of document, it's just the postman there just coming, he said he's delivering me a parcel. So whenever you save a document in Teams, it actually saves it to SharePoint. If you're working on a Microsoft Teams team, if you're working in Teams and you're having a chat, having that kind of conversation, and then you attach a document from your computer, what it does is it saves it from your OneDrive. So all these things that we're talking about today, they're all linked. They're all super closely related. So just be aware of that. So I want to show you this this thing called Storage Sense. So if I'm going to come into here, I'm going to type in Storage Sense, and it says turn on Storage Sense. If I give this a click, again, this only works on Windows 10 computers. What it's going to do is one of the kind of the downsides of modern day computing. You might have a one of these really good solid state hard drives, but they tend to be quite small. So you can see here, I'm working on a computer. It's only got 120 gigabytes of storage space. But in here, what I can say is I can configure Storage Sense, and what it'll do is it'll make my documents, which I've got saved in my OneDrive, it'll automatically adjust them so that they can be sent back to the cloud when I'm not working on them. And I can adjust that here so that content will become online only if not open for more than. And I can say, okay, so if I don't open a document on my OneDrive on my computer with those applications, if I don't open it for 14 days, then it won't hold that copy on my computer anymore. It'll just send it back to the cloud. I'm not going to lose it. It just means I'm not going to take up that storage space. So there we go. Good stuff. Right, Audrey, so I'm thinking we should have a break now. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's completely fine. How long do you think we should?
I think just 5 minutes. Okay, so if everyone's going, get a coffee, get a drink, get nicely refreshed, and hopefully come back. Hopefully, I haven't bored you too much. And then we're going to look at Microsoft Forms, and then we're going to look at how we can create a Power App in 5 minutes as well. You're going to love it. Okay, see you at 11:15. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome back. Just thanks there, big thank you there to my friend Rory for putting that interlude music on there. I was just having a dance around the living room. It was absolutely fantastic. It was really good stuff. I think Audrius was dancing as well. We were, had a bit of a dance off there. I think Audrius won though. Good moves. So we'll just give everybody, because I did say 11:15. So it's 11:15 now. We'll just give people another 10 seconds. Like I said, we're going to look at Microsoft Forms next, which is really exciting. It's one of my most favorite things about Microsoft Office 365. I mean, hopefully I'm trying to get across to you today that Microsoft 365 is just this like fantastic toolkit that we can use in many different ways. It's it's just this massive expansive things, but it's very much for for you to use in the way that you see most appropriate, and just to kind of identify those pinch points that you might have in the way that you're working, and just try and to make things a bit easier, which is great, which is really good. Okay, so what we're going to do next is I'm going to share my screen. Boom, like so. Let's share the screen. Always like to sing those bits. There we go. Jolly good. Hopefully you can see my screen. Audrius, can you just confirm you can see my screen? Because I always get a bit paranoid about that. Can you see it?
Yes, Paul, all good. We can see it.
Mega. Okay, jolly good. So, forms. So let's click on here. So in Office 3, actually, I'll go back to Microsoft Office 365. This is a sign-in page again. It's always a good place to start, and start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on Forms on here. So Forms is this fantastic tool from Microsoft, and it can be used both inside of your organization, okay, and you can use it externally as well. So it's a bit like it's a bit like what's that thing called? SurveyMonkey. You know, these kinds of tools that you can use, or you can use this for quizzes as well. It's, you know, it's ever so useful. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how we can do a form. I'm going to show you how we can do a quiz as well. It should only take about 15 minutes or so. But yeah, hopefully we're going to enjoy this. What I'll do is I'll post the quiz link into the chat. You can have a go at the quiz as well. That'd be great. Okay, so let's start. So when we're on this page, we can see forms here along the top. I have my forms, which are obviously my forms. Then I have forms which are shared with me. Nobody's shared any forms with me, which is a bit of a shame. And then I have group forms as well. So, you know, I can identify them this way if I want to. And then I have an option here for new form or new quiz. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say new form. And when I do that, I get this screen pops up. I know it looks a little bit ugly, but we're going to do something about that real soon. So on here, what I'm going to say, I'm going to call this example form. It's a good job it's got spell checker. My left hand is faster than my right, so I'm always mistyping. And then when I'm in here, actually, let's do this. And we'll say example form about cats. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, actually we won't do it about cats, we'll do it about a serious thing. We'll say example feedback form. We'll do it as if it's something serious. And then on here, I can insert an image. So within here, I'm just going to move this out of the way because I've got this habit of hitting that. And on here, I can say image search, and I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to do an image search for feedback, and then just do a search on this, and we'll go and pinch that. Just be aware though, these images might well be under copyright, and if you are making them public, you know, you'd be better off using an image which doesn't have any copyright information on there. So you can bring an image from your computer. I just want to make you totally aware of that because that is important. And I'm going to say add, like so. Okay, and then there's things on here which, you know, you really do need to know. So a lot of Microsoft 365 is based around accessibility and, you know, screen reading technology, so that, you know, people can consume the content in the way that, you know, they feel most appropriate. It's down to their personal choice. So if you ever are using images when you're doing, you know, this kind of thing within forms or any of those applications that we've looked at earlier, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, you know, please be aware of this alternative text, so that, you know, always give it a title, describe it. So I'm going to call this feedback image, and that's so that screen readers can interpret that. Otherwise, they'll just read it as image, and it won't really give the consumer of the form, the user, any kind of context on what this is. Okay, so on here, I'm going to say in a description, I'm going to say, please use this form to enable us to improve our services, like so. And then on here, I'm going to say add new. Okay, and then I've got a bunch of different questions that I can, you know, I can ask. So on here, I can say choice. So on here, I can say, you know, which other sessions have you attended? You know, this kind of question on here. Again, I can give this an image if I wanted to. And then I have these option drop downs. So I can say option 1. So I can say we've done, let's just go through it. We say, you know, we've done a team session, we've done Teams 101. We've done, you know, getting the best out of Office 365, for example, like this. I can keep on adding and add another option as well. Or what I can do is I can say add other options. So this is then a typey box. People can type in there, and they can say what other sessions they've attended. That should have been an S on the end of sessions. Okay, so on here I'll just say accessibility, which is another course that I run from time to time. Okay, so, you know, really, really useful. I'll get more options on this question as well. I can say people can have multiple answers. You probably do want to do this in this type of question because you're saying, oh, what other sessions have you attended? You can also make this required, so people must fill this in, make it mandatory. And then you have an option to shuffle the options, which is handy if you're doing a quiz because people might just get wise to the fact that the answers are always in the same point. We're going to come back to that in a little bit of time. You can also add a subtitle as well, and you can do branching. We're going to look at branching in a moment. So I'm just going to say add new. And this time I'm just going to do a free text. I'm going to say, you know, please provide, I wish I could type, please provide comments below. Okay, and I'm going to say this is a long answer, so I want a bigger box to indicate that, you know, I want people to kind of type in here. Again, I'm going to say it's required, and then I've got some restrictions on this as well. Let's have a look at restrictions, actually. It's something I've never clicked on before. There we go. So you can say, oh, it's got to be a number. It's got to be greater than, it's got to be less than. So this is quite handy if you really want to kind of, you know, kind of get the question and the answer so that, you know, people are just typing in the kind of things that you want. You know, give it a bit of a kind of a formatting. So that's really useful. I'll take the restrictions off though, because I don't want that in this case. And then I can say add again. I can ask for a rating. So I can say, you know, rate the session. Rate the session. Actually, if you do get asked for any feedback from the session, please be kind. Just saying. I hope you do enjoy this. Okay, and then I can say add new, and then also I can say a date. So we can have a date question on here. So date format. Say, you know, which date did you attend, like this? Okay, and then yeah, what you have is you have this kind of pop out for the date field. We're going to look at this in a bit, and we're going to preview it. We have a ranking question as well. These are really good. So what you can do is you can say, you know, order the below. These are really handy questions. So if I go into here and say 1, I could say that's 3, for example. I could say that's 2, and I could say that's 4. Okay, and then what we can do is actually, if I just do that so it's a bit better, move that up, otherwise it won't work. Oops. Get this one. 1. Oh, come on. There we go. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what we can do is we can shuffle them, you know, so they're all going to be shuffled up. It's going to look good. I was going to show you the different types of questions. So we've got that. We've also got a Likert question. These are very popular. So you could say, how did you find the content, you know, this kind of thing. And then you could say, you know, say it was actually we'll just have 3 options just to make it a bit less typing for me. You could say it was good, it was average, it was you know, it was poor. Okay, and then you could say, you know, how he spoke, you know, that kind of thing. You know, excitement, you know, this, and then what you can do is you can just have all this within one question. Really good question type. You know, so this, you know, what I'm trying to get across to you is, you know, this is a really fully featured application. It's, you know, it's something that you can use also in Power Automate, as I was showing Tony earlier on. There's something you can do in there. You can flow information in, you can bring content in. You know, it's all really good stuff. And you can take that content from a form, you can put it into SharePoint, and you can store it. How exciting is that? It's great, isn't it? You can also have a file upload on here as well. So as it says here, a new folder will be created in your OneDrive. Files uploaded by responders will be captured in this folder. Note that responders' name and file details will automatically be recorded in OneDrive. So what this is kind of saying here is this is only going to work when you've actually got that responder information. But you know, it's really useful. So we'll say okay on that. And then what we're going to say is next, we'll say a net promoter score. So, you know, how likely are you to recommend this to a friend or a colleague? You know, with 0 not being very likely, 10 being extremely likely. And then the last question type is a section, which isn't a question at all. So what you can do is you can split this into different sections. So if I said, oh, here's another section. So I could say, you know, tell us about how you will use this training to enhance, you know, that kind of thing, your working life. Actually, that sounds better. And then on here, I can add a question, give it a text, and then say, you know, tell us all about it. Okay, tell us all about it. Okay, like so. And again, on here, you can say, you know, long answer, make it required or not. Now, on here, I can now preview this. And so there we are, look. We have this feedback, example feedback form. And on here, it's saying to us, hi, Paul, when you submit this form, the owner will be able to see your name and email address. And that is because within the settings of this form, which I'm going to show you in a moment, we've got that set so that it's going to only be used with people within my organization. And only those people can respond. And by doing so, I'm able to not request that they're putting their name and email address. I can just see that from their user ID. Okay. The little red asterisks indicate that these questions must be answered. So, you know, I'll just go into here and say, good, rate the session. I'll give myself 5. I know it's bad, but I will. Which date did you attend? Look, we've got a date picker and it always defaults to today's date. It's really, really good. Order the below, so you can move these things around, you know, really, really useful. How did you find the content? You know, good. File upload as well, upload a file. Again, can use that gold image. It's going to take it into my OneDrive like this. Okay. Good stuff. How like you to recommend to a colleague, 9. And then if we click on next, then it takes us to the next section, which is like a page. So tell us how you will use this training in the future. I will use it for the purposes of good. Okay. And then you can submit like so. Boom. Okay. It's really that good. Okay, so this can be used not just inside the organization, but outside the organization. I'm going to show you where those settings exist for this now. I can also, within this preview mode, I can look at what it looks like on a mobile phone. Okay, so that's really, really handy. So it's really, the term for this is called responsive, but, you know, really I just want you to know what it means is it scales it down. It looks great on a mobile phone. It really, really does. Okay. So what I can do is I can change some of the settings for this form if I wanted to. I can come over here and click on the 3 little dots. And I can click on settings. And on here I can say, okay, who can fill in this form? And I can say anyone with this link can respond, or I can click here. But I can see if I hover over that, it says file upload is only available when people in my organization can respond in the selected setting. So I can't actually select that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm thinking, well, I do really want people to answer this outside of my organization. So I'm going to come on to question 7 here, and I'm going to delete that question. And now I've done that, if I click onto settings, now I can allow anybody with the link can respond. And then I've got this options for responses. I can say accept responses, start date, end date. I can shuffle the questions. I can customize the thank you message. So I can say, yeah, I'm only going to accept responses on these times. It's going to end on a certain time. And I can also do the thank you message. Now, what I do when I do this, I often then link off to a SharePoint site. So in here, I'll put like, you know, HTTP : Actually, what I'll do is I'll do the BBC for today. Okay, I'll make that an HTTPS as well. Good stuff. Okay, and then on here I can say, you know, send email receipt to respondents. I can't do that in this because I'm not capturing the email address because I'm sending it to people outside the organization. And also I can tick this box so I get email notifications for each response. I can do that too. Pretty cool. Okay. Really, really good. And so, you know, we have got like different ways of doing it. There's also a multilingual section in here, so you can make your questions in different languages. However, if you do that, you've got to do a little bit in Excel and do the language conversion and then put it back. But it is very, very good. So you can do that. And then obviously we have feedback as well. You can go to user voice and you can suggest a feature. Okay. Pretty good. I hope you found that useful. So what you can do on here is you can go onto here, and I just want to show you the sharing options now. If I click share on here, then what I can do is I can go and get the link, which I'll send out to the people who I want to fill in the form. I can say copy on that, okay, and then I could put it into another tab and I can paste it like this. Boom. Okay. So I don't see any of the options. I just see the form. Okay. Really good. Also, what I could do is I could get a QR code. So this is really handy. I've seen this being used for, I developed a system for this in the place I used to work previously, which was for meeting equipment. So in these meeting rooms, what we had is we had QR codes on the door, or beside the door actually. And what people would do is they would snap the QR code if there was something missing in the meeting room, and then they would fill in a short form, and then that would go into a SharePoint list, and somebody would get emailed, and then they would know, that they've had that response from people. It was just a really easy way of doing it rather than having somebody to type in a link. QR codes are dead useful in that respect. You can also embed that link as well into a web page, or to Swear, which is like, a real nice presentation tool, or you can email it as well. If you hit that, it'll pop up your email client. Really useful. Okay. And so on here as well, we can say share as a template. So if you wanted to, template this, and what's really powerful about this is if you're working across multiple tenants, different organizations with Microsoft 365, you can take a form you've created in one, you can make it into a template, copy the link over to the other tenant that you're working with, and then you can duplicate it. So it's saving you a lot of work, and it's great not to have to work too much, isn't it? So you just copy what you've got, works brilliantly. And then as well, you have this link to view and to edit. And if you click this is the collaboration link. You can copy that, you can send it off to somebody, and then they can collaborate with you on the form. Now, just be aware if you do that, sometimes the links can get into the wrong hands, and people might be kind of like modifying your forms. So what you can do is you can come into here. If you find that your link goes rogue, you can come in and you can delete that. Okay, you can remove the link, and then you could create a new one, and then you could share it out again with people. How fantastic. Good? Okie dokie. Audrius, do we have any questions?
Yes, sorry, Paul, to interrupt you like that. We've got one question from Laura.
Yeah.
And she's asking, is there such a thing as 365 app on mobile? She says that she has Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., but they are as a separate kind of apps rather than being under this 365 app as such.
That's right. So there is an all-inclusive app now. If you go to so I've got on my mobile phone, I'm not texting, I do promise. If I go to my mobile phone, you can see on here I've got one called Office in the middle there. Okay. And so it's my personal mobile phone. That's why I've got Football Manager on there, if anybody's wondering. And then if I click into that, right, then I can see all my documents. And if I press on the plus, right, I can do notes, lens, and documents. Can you see? Yeah. And if I click on documents, then I can do a Word document, an Excel document, a PowerPoint document, all from just within this app.
And how is this app called again?
This app is called, let's actually, I'll do this live. I'll totally believe in live. I'm going to my Google Play Store now. It is called Office, Microsoft Office. It's called, there we are, Microsoft Office Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and more, he says, reading the reflection through his laptop. That's what I've just done, so I can see it. Okay, is that all right? Good stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, mega.
We've got
a
question from Steve. Just bear with me.
There's not really a bear with you though, is the Audrius? Not really.
So Steve is asking, when you go to the login page, there is a prompt asking you to install Office 365. Why is it there? And he also says that you got this on your screen, Paul, as well.
I've got to say, sharp eyes from Steve there. That's good that Steve saw that. And so it depends on your organizational policy. So some organizations, they leave that button there. For me, I'm in our test tenant. And so within Office, what it lets you do is, but it all depends how the organization wants you to use this. Some organizations let you download a copy of Office Plus 365 on your computer. Some don't. So what I would say is, please check with your, your IT governance. So, ask the service desk, that kind of thing, just to make sure before you go ahead and install it. So I don't want to get into trouble off them.
Okay. Okay, so that's Steve. Tony is asking, will you be showing us the responses tab? At the moment, I'm not really sure if you can access these questions as in like a text-based option when you rewatch the webinar on our YouTube channel. I'm not really sure. I'll need to speak to my colleagues about that, Tony. So I can't really give you a straight answer the moment, but I'm sure you'll get the webinar recording sent to your email address.
Certainly, and I can provide links to to really good Microsoft resources as well, and
we'll get all the links to Paul
yes,
at the end of the session, and we'll include these links for you all to access and have on hand. So don't worry about that if you haven't if you haven't followed him in a way. Yeah, and I just want to say one more thing to Laura. Laura, if you can't find anything at the moment, don't worry. We'll send all the links as well. And if you want to get in touch and to connect with Paul, you can find him on LinkedIn. I posted a link in the chat box, so feel free to do that. And if you have any more questions after this session, please feel free to get in touch with him. And yeah, and oh, we've got another one from Steve. He says, he asks, does 365 work offline?
It does, in the sense, I was showing you the Finder on my computer. Well, it's actually a Finder because I'm using a Windows computer, and File Explorer. These documents here, you see they've got the green ticks next to them inside my OneDrive. I've had a SharePoint library, which we're going to cover when we do the Teams demonstration in 2 weeks. On that, if you can see the green ticks on here, yeah. So what the green ticks say, they're saying, well, they are available offline on my computer. They've been downloaded to my computer. So the thing to do is, I was showing you storage sense earlier on. Just ensure that if you've got that document that you're only on a train journey or something like that, just ensure that you're working on the the green tick version and it is offline. And then once you get back into a signal range, it'll push that back and it'll update the version history of the document.
Okay, yeah, excellent, good stuff. No more questions at the moment, so we are good to continue.
Jolly good. Okie dokie. Thank you very much for asking questions. And yeah, and please just think of me as your Microsoft 365 friend. And I really, well, I do. And I really want you to love this stuff as much as I do. I absolutely love this. It's making the workplace smaller. I think it takes down some of those traditional barriers. And yeah, so so please, if you any questions, just ask. I really do want you to ask questions. I really want you to like it. And if you don't like it, or if you don't want to ask a question, because of me, or maybe I've kind of delivered it in a certain way that actually I'm sad about that, because I really do want you to love it. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay, so on here on forms, I just want to very quickly show you a quiz, how the quiz works in a similar kind of way. So what we'll do is we'll call this movie quiz. Just do this very, very quickly. And then we're going to say add. We're just going to do some choice questions just so you can see what happens with this. So on here, I'm going to say, who directed Jaws? Okay, who did direct Jaws? So let's have a look. Steven Spielberg, which I think is the answer. This was Steven Spielberg, wasn't it? It was, Paul. Was it? Hold on, bear with me. I'm just going to go into here. Google. Oh, because I need some of the directors' names as well. So I'm just going to say Steven Spielberg. Good stuff. Okay, so because I can't spell, I'm just going to copy and paste that to go into forms, into here. Steven Spielberg. Oh. Good stuff. Okay. Okay. So who don't not really in a very creative mood today. Han Solo. I know he's a character. He wouldn't have directed Jaws. Or we'll say Robert Shaw, who is in Jaws, isn't he? He's the guy, I think, who says we're going to need a bigger boat. Or is that Richard Dreyfuss? Anyway, never mind. So on here, what we can do is, in this quiz, we can come in and we can say, yeah, Steven Spielberg is the correct answer. And then we can give it a bit of narrative. And we can say, on here, we can say, yes, of course, it was Miss Stephen. Like this, and we can give people questions and answers. We can have points. We can say that's worth 10 points. Then we can add another question. We'll just do 2, and then we'll move on to something else. But on here, we can also say, okay, so we can say who played the part of the scientist in Jaws. Okay, like so, and it was. I'm sure it was Richard Dreyfuss. Let's just go and do Richard Dreyfuss. Brilliant, he did. Good stuff. Okay, so go into here. Yeah, I love Richard Dreyfuss. He's one of my absolute favourite actors. Okay, So absolutely love Close Encounters of the Third Kind. When I was a child, I could watch that just over and over and over. Those mashed potato mountains was just absolutely fantastic. Okay, so when I come into here, what I can do is I can say preview, I can answer questions, I can say Steven Spielberg, and I can say Richard Dreyfuss, like so, okay. And then I can say submit. Look at that. It says, thank you for your response. I can view my results. And look, I got 20 out of 20. Whoop! How good's that? It's great, isn't it? It's even better when it's your own quiz. You can see what that looks like on a mobile phone as well. Look, it looks fab. And then I just want to show you the settings on this. So what we can do is we can come into here, we can click on settings. I can say, you know, show results of the quiz immediately, automatically. You know, do that, which is, I've got that ticked at the moment. I can say anyone with the link can respond. I can say, you know, accept responses. So it's very, very similar to what we had before. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to say share, okay, and I'm going to say copy, yeah. And then if I go into the questions and answer, I don't know if I can actually do this. Can I do this? Maybe I can't. Oh, I can't. Oops. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, I wish I could. Audrius, is there any way I can share the link, or is there not really? Just wondering.
Well, you can copy the link and you can paste it in the chat box.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Now, well, okay. But where is the chat box? Where is the chat box, mate?
If you go to
back
the
to
bottom
here.
of your screen, you can it says chat.
Oh, so you see, if for somebody who's meant to be technological, that's a real. Isn't that really bad? Oh, I wish I could show. Anyway, I wish I could submit this. Let's see if we do show. Oh, show small.
And
Oh,
before you
there
click
we are.
send,
I see you now. Yeah.
If you before you click send, if you click to, it says to, and then you need to click select all panelists and attendees if you want the audience to see the link as well.
Okay.
You need just sending the link to all panelists, so the audience won't be able to see it.
Okay. Do I do it from here or not?
You can do
No.
it now. Yeah, do it.
So, what, invite, or what do I? Oh, I can't do it, can I? I'm failing, Audrius. I am. That's really bad. Okay. Well,
What do you want to do? You want to
I want
paste the link?
yeah, I want to paste the link.
Yeah. So as a host, if you go off the full screen for somehow, if you click escape for now.
Oh, good man.
Click
Okay.
escape.
Yeah. Oh, there. Hold on. I'm gonna say stop share. There. I'm there now. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Okay. If I share the link with you, can then you make the magic happen? Is that okay?
Yep, you shared it to me, but I'll share it to everyone else. No
Honestly, you're the best, mate. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again, and now we're going to do a power app in 9 minutes, and you're going to love this. So here we go, sharing. Whoop. Okay, Audrius, can you just confirm you can see my screen?
Yes, they can do. All good.
Mega. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this like super quick. I'm going to go into Office 365 like so, and I'm going to go into Excel. Now, whenever we're working with Power Apps, we need something called a data source, but don't be too worried about data sources. All data sources are, they're just like a list of data, or they're just like a, you know, an Excel document, or it's just anywhere you've got data, anywhere you want to kind of, you know, create data or save data. So what we're going to do for this example, this is going to be a visitor log. So I want you to all imagine that, you know, we're working on a reception desk somewhere, and what we want to do is we want to have a form that records when people come in, you know, what the car registration is, maybe it's even what color car they've got, because I can never remember my car, so we'd say like a silverish car or whatever, something like that. Anyway, we're going to record that, we're going to record who they're coming to see, and we're going to have like date and time stuff in there. Sounds good, eh? It does. Okay, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to say a new blank Excel document, like so. I'm coming in here, I've got book one, but I'm going to call this visitors Excel doc, something like that. Actually, Excel sheet. Okay, good, right. And so when I'm in here, it's saved it, dead easy, eh? It's in my OneDrive. You know, OneDrive's a good place for this kind of thing when we're getting started. We're going to learn some Power Apps. And in here, we're just going to name these cells along the top here. So what we'll say is we'll say person's name, okay? Good stuff. And then we'll say visiting person. Does that make sense? I think it does, visiting person. Anyway, the person they're going to visit. And then we'll have car reg, yeah, like so. And then we'll have car color for people like me who can't remember what color car they've got. Oh, no, I can't remember what color car I've got, what my car registration is. And then we'll have date, time in, like so. Cool, eh? And then we'll have date, time out. Okay, good stuff. And then I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. Audrius, can you think of anything else you'd like to have in an attendee list? No?
Not really, to be honest, no.
Okay, good. If you do think of anything though, just shout it out. Okay, so let's go with this and we'll see how this looks. So I'm going to highlight all of that. Now, one of the things with Excel is you're when you're using it as like as a data source, you're using it as a as a list, as a data platform. Then you've got to have a table in there, otherwise, Power Apps or whatever you're using, it just won't have a clue, which bit's the data. So what we do is I could do it anywhere along the top, but I'm going to highlight, all these different things here, like so. Oh, I think we've got a raised hand, Audrius. So when we're in here, what I'm going to do now is
we've got a raised hand from, well, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, Kaiko, maybe?
Yeah.
And he says you can add company as well into the...
Oh, good, honestly, good shout. Thank you very much.
I mean, Paul, not to say anything, but we don't really have imaginations, but, our audience clearly does. So.
Yeah, honestly, I have no imagination, mate, at all. None. I wish I did. I wish I was more creative. One day. And so in here, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say format as a table. Look, I get all these nice styles. I'm just going to go with this boring grey one. And I'm going to say my table has headers. Boom. Look and see what it does. Kind of gives it all a nice header. How nice is that? So we're finished with that. We've done that. How easy was that? It's great, isn't it? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of this because I don't need to have it open anymore. And then I'm going to click into the app launcher and I'm going to click onto Power Apps, which is all purple. I'm going to love this. It's all very, very nice. And when I open Power Apps, it's really useful. It's don't think of Power Apps as anything hard. It's just like what Excel was like 20 years ago. Because I'm really old. I remember when Excel came into organizations, and people were like, "Oh, there's only one person who knows how to use Excel. Should we really use Excel in this way?" But like now, we all just use Excel, don't we? It's become just like part of what we do. And here's a poll prediction for you all. I totally predict within 5 years, we're all building apps and we're all just kind of like making our lives a bit easier because, that's what they do. They're absolutely fantastic things. And so in here, what I'm going to do is I'm on the home button and it's saying start from data. So I'm like, is it SharePoint? Well, no, it's not. Is it Excel Online? It might be Excel Online because that's what we've just used. It's certainly not SQL. That's not Common Data Service. So I'm going to click on Excel Online like this. And it goes off to Power Apps. And what it does is it looks on my OneDrive and it says, hey, where is this Excel document you want me to work with? Okay. And I'm going to say, hey, look, it's this visitors Excel sheet. Like so. Actually, I've just had a thought there. I'm just going to go back and, because I want to correct something before we go any further. I've made a mistake. Well, not a mistake. Maybe it's a semi-deliberate mistake. When you're working with data, we need to ensure that we set the data correctly. So if I'm going to come out of there, I'm just going to say leave there. I'm just going to go into here. Now, you might have noticed that we've got here a time in and date time out. Yeah, notice that, yeah? And so what I want to do is I want to format the data for those two Excel cells, okay? For those two Excel column cells, yeah? So in here, I'm going to say number format, and I want to say, hey, this is a date. And I'm not in the United States. I would like to be in the United States, though. Would I? I think so. We're all on planet Earth, though, anyway, aren't we? We are, Paul. Okay, so I'm going to say United Kingdom. And then on here, I'm going to say, yeah, let's have it like that. And then, oh, actually, I'm going to do, I've noticed you don't get the time if you do it that way. Let's do it again. Do that again. United Kingdom. I'll say 12th of March. I'm just going to go back in there again. We should, because I want to see the time. Oh, it's not going to give me it, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Good stuff. We'll do it this way, even though it'll be US. In my other tenant, I've got it set up as UK. I do apologise for those date purists who are watching. Okay, so I've set those up as date fields. Okie dokie. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that like so. Just come out of that. Click into here. I'll go back to documents on there. I'll do it this way. Good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yeah, it's Excel Online. It's going to go and look at my OneDrive documents again. Dead easy. I'm going to select Visit as Excel. Okay, and it's going to say, hey, where's your data stored, Paul? Where is it? So I've only got one table on there, but you might have more. So I'm going to say it's table 1. And then I'm going to say connect, and then it loads. There's all this fantastic stuff. Ooh, lots of magic happening in the background. And it's loading. And then any second now, we'll have our first ever Power App. Look at that, how good's that? It's brilliant, okay? And so on here we have the app. What's done is it's made 3 different screens up. We're gonna use it now so you can see what's happening with it. So if I press play, okay, I've got this option to refresh the data. I can sort it out alphabetically, or you can add a new item. How good's this? So look, I can say we've got somebody who's come to see us. Obviously, we put these into the correct order if we're doing this for real. So I'm going to say, looking at my car outside, I've got a grey scenic because I've got a family and two daughters, which is quite nice. Give it the registration. I've got no idea what my registration is. Company, Changing Social, who are a great company. And on here, I can say, you know, what the time in is. So I can say it's June the 9th, nice date picker on here, and say when. So what time is it now? Say it's like 12 o'clock. And yeah, go on. We'll say it. And I'm going to say, I haven't left yet, but we'll pretend I have, just because it's like this is fantasy. And then person's name, I'm going to say Paulie Worley, which is me, Paulie Worley. Whoop. Okay, person visiting. Audrey, do I spell your name like that? Is that right?
I can't really see your screen. Can you scroll down a bit? Is there a
Oh, no, I can't. That's as far as I can go. Hopefully everybody else can see. I hope you can.
Oh, yeah, I can do. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, that's
good.
the correct way to do it.
Cool. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit that. Boom. Look at that. Okay. And I've added a grey scenic, and you know, these fields here, they can display anything. I'm going to do that again just so we can see. So I'm going to say this time it's an imaginary car. I don't know, boom, 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 something like that. Who am I working for now? We'll say I'm working for Rolls Royce. Oh yeah, that'll be nice, wouldn't it? And then we'll say I'm at 16th of June. I've gone at midnight for some reason. Actually, it's the 17th. I'm leaving, and I'm going to stay there until 7 o'clock. I've gone there for a sleep. Person's name is me again. Visiting person, I don't know, we'll say Audrey. Okay, and then I'm going to add that like so. And look what I've done. I've got a second one. Now what I can do is I can reorder those lists. I can type in here and say, oh, just show me the ones which are grey. Just show me the ones which are blue. Yeah, isn't it good? Power Apps. Oh, amazing. Good stuff, eh? So, you know, it's all really, really good and really useful. And hopefully you can see it's dead easy to use. And if we flick back to the Excel document, like so, just wait for that scrolling bar to go away. And if I go to my Excel spreadsheet, look at this. Boom. See? Look, I didn't think it was going to work then. I was going to think, oh, what's happened? But look, it's populated it with the person's name, the company, and the visiting person, and the time in, the time out. How good's that? It's really good, Paul. It's really good. It is. So there we go. That is today's session. So we've covered collaboration. We've covered, like, you know, the best bits and the nicest and easiest ways of like sharing documents and, you know, making our work a bit more efficient. We've looked at, you know, how we can share in 5 different ways, how it's a bit like a musical instrument, how we can, you know, do things in many different ways, and it's very much down to how we want to interpret it and how we want to do things. We've looked at forms, which are fab. I hope you agree, how it can be used inside the organization and outside the organization. And then we've had a very quick look at Power Apps. Does anybody have any questions at all? At all?
Hi, Paul. Yes, we do have one question at the moment from Laura.
Cool.
She's asking, yeah, going back to the 365 forms, is there an app for forms for mobiles?
Good question. I believe there is. Hold on, I'm just gonna search for it. I do think there is. Yeah, I'm pretty much. Is there? Let's have a look. Yeah, there is. But actually, there's not. I do apologize. There isn't. There is not a Microsoft Forms app. How bad's that? So there isn't one. So it's really bad. It's just, I know. I feel really bad for saying that there was there for set Microsoft Forms mobile app. Let's have a look. No, unfortunately not. I do apologize, but you know, if you want any features like that, you just got to think, no, Microsoft Forms, all these services, you do have a user voice on this. So if you do go to Forms, in fact, we can do it now. If I click on my little on my question mark here, help, boom, boom, boom. Let's just go into it. Where is it? Movie quiz on here. I can say feedback. Okay, to go to user voice on here, and I can suggest a feature. So I can say, hey, you know, let's have a Forms mobile app. And that works for Teams as well. I mean, one of the really good things about, you know, about all these services that we're looking at today, they are constantly evolving, they're constantly developing. And, you know, at any point you can go and see, you know, what's new within there, and you can see what's on the roadmap, what's coming. For ideas like this for Forms, the ones which get the most votes, you know, we can see very recently we got an upload attachment for uploading a document, an image, etc. You know, that's actually on there now. But obviously you can see 8,520 people voted for that, which is good. I think we have a raised hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do, and Kaiko has a question: is there an app for timesheets?
Not as such. There is something though called inside of Teams. If I launch Teams on here, like so, then see if I've actually got it on my tenant here. Then what we have is we have shifts, which is really handy. And what shifts let you do is, you know, you could people actually, let's create a schedule contour. So confirm. And what this does is this lets you do holiday requests. You can say you can, you know, we can request time. You can see when people are available or not available. Really handy for if you're working across multiple time zones, or if you've got shift patterns. That's probably what's called shifts. And so yeah, this is a really good feature. I haven't got enough time to demonstrate it in like a minute, but I can certainly put a link to it, or, you know, it's something we could cover perhaps as part of that team session that we're doing. You know, we're doing quite shortly.
No, that's fine. Yeah, Laura saying thank you. Thank you, Laura, for being here. And
you,
before we go off, I'll let people ask more questions, obviously. But before people go off, I just want to let everyone know that our next webinar session is taking place Thursday of this week, and it will be on the ultimate guide to delivering a great and engaging webinar, exactly the one that you've attended today. Or benefited from that session.
It's a great session. I learned everything from that session. Please attend it. It's fantastic.
So if you are looking at you know, starting your very own webinar, or you want to improve the one that you currently have, this is the session for you. And we've got another webinar on Tuesday next week, and it will be on CRM softwares and the link between marketing and sales. So it will be a great session to show you guys what and how CRMs work and how it talks to marketing and sales simultaneously. So if you are interested in those, you can also register at our website, which is digitalenterprise.co.uk, and a follow-up email will be sent to all of you with those informations included. So yes, we've got Cliff saying thanks, Paul, really informative, lots to take away and implement. So yes,
pleasure, Cliff. Pleasure.
We'll be sending you an email as well with today's recording, and we'll include links with Paul's recommendations as to what you can have a look at and what you should if you want to dig deeper and see what 365 is all about. And yeah, we've got a thank you from Kaiko. Thank you. Please include timesheet. So
certainly. Yeah, no
I think
problem.
that will be covered in the Teams session that we will be having next week. in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, it will be on the 23rd of June.
That's right.
We will be covering Microsoft Teams more than just a video conferencing. So if any of you in this, please. And yeah, what we've got, have we got any more questions at the moment? No, thank you. Everyone's happy. So yeah, people, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. This is your opportunity to maybe get a little bit more out of